Hey, my name is Chris, and in this presentation, we'll be reflecting on the development of my research essay. We'll be talking about its conception and how it kind of came to be, how I came up with the idea, some of the strengths and weaknesses that I faced while writing the essay, and even some of the techniques that I gained from this assignment that I can definitely apply in the future when it comes to any sort of project. So, right off the bat, GMOs are a beneficial agricultural practice that should not be met with resistance by society. Or at least that's what my essay argued. Truthfully, I was clueless on the subject of GMOs, and I was equally as clueless as to what I should pick for an essay topic. I'm definitely a perfectionist, and it felt as though whichever essay topic I chose had to be a masterpiece. At the same time, I had to avoid going all in on a topic that's too niche or unusual or specific and ending up with a 4,000 word paper. Eventually, I got frustrated with these feelings of writer's block, and I just picked one of the suggested topics in the outline. I picked the GMO topic, I picked a random side, which was that they're good, and I went with it. It was sort of a sophist-like approach to the essay, I find, where you argue anything, whether you agree or disagree with it, you just roll with it. And that's what I did. I chose a random topic, random side, and I didn't know whether I would agree, but I went with it. And I actually did strongly support the usage of GMOs. As I did more and more research, the topic sort of clicked, and I was quite satisfied with my choice. Although I wouldn't necessarily say it's important to me, but I can definitely appreciate the topic much more now. Before this research essay, it was a topic I'd hardly ever really given any thought, and now it's something that I've actually considered and mentioned in some of my other marketing classes. So if we're going into the strengths and weaknesses, right away I just want to tackle my major weakness that arose while writing this research essay, which was procrastination. It's always been a really bad habit of mine that I can't seem to kick when it comes to school, and essays are especially deadly if you procrastinate because you're stuck writing thousands of words on the night before. Definitely not a good plan for success. So, as silly as it sounds, I was really nervous because I knew that somehow I would end up procrastinating for this presentation. Somehow I always find a way to leave my work until the last minute, and it's something that I really have to try hard to prevent. Fortunately, though, this assignment made it a little bit easier because it required a proper outline. So this prevented me from leaving the entire paper to do the night before, like I said before. This was incredibly helpful. It felt as though the outline was a bulk of the work, and from there I basically just had to weave the points together to create the final product. It's a tool that I'm going to be using in the future for sure. I'm also someone who loves to argue, and that definitely translated into a strength for this assignment. So persuasive essays can be really fun for me because you definitely just have to really argue a point, right? You lay out points, you lay out arguments, and this was the case with this research essay. It made the entire research process a lot more interesting as well. So I was ensuring that I was only really picking the most persuasive statistics. I was definitely looking at a lot of different viewpoints and a lot of different sources. I also feel that I effectively used transition statements, and that made the essay a lot more cohesive and a lot smoother to read as well. So, after delving into the topic and researching thoroughly, here is what I learned. It's clear that the benefits of GMOs are completely undeniable, and in all honesty, the benefits that they provide for our health and environment were really surprising to me. So right away, let's address the elephant in the room, which is that any claims that GMOs are harmful to the health of the general population are baseless. Despite the fact that people think genetic food modification is some hazardous dystopian era process, I learned that genetic modification has actually been around for thousands of years and has allowed us to diversify and enrich our diets with multiple different nutrients. So examples of this are things like selective breeding, which will let us grow the biggest, best plants. Things like corn, things like beans, they would not be parts of our diet without this. You definitely wouldn't be finding them in places like grocery stores, at least that's for sure. And there's also a million studies out there that say the exact same thing, that GMOs are extremely safe. So one example is the World Health Organization. They came to the conclusion that no effects on human health have been shown as a result of the consumption of foods by the general population that have been genetically modified. I even discussed in the presentation something called golden rice. So this was a genetically modified form of rice with additional vitamin A. People with vitamin A deficiencies often go blind, so they use this to combat that blindness. It was actually extremely effective as well. The other major advantage of GMOs are the environmental benefits. So pesticides are horrendous for ecosystems, and they also release a lot of harmful toxins into the atmospheres called CFCs, which is short for chlorofluorocarbons. So GMOs are a method to replace their usage almost entirely, and it's been shown to work. Additionally, they make other farming practices more efficient. For example, many GMO crops only need to be tilled a fifth as often as non-GMO crops, which means that farmers will release carbon emissions a fifth as often. It's very clear why roughly 75% of processed foods contain genetically modified organisms. They just work. So given the many advantages of genetically modified organisms that we discussed, be it for the environment, for the consumers, for the farmers, for grocery stores, it was easy to come to the conclusion that GMOs deserve to be an essential part of our agricultural industry. I was surprised by how much I was interested in the topic, and I didn't realize that GMOs played such a big role in our foods. Furthermore, this assignment showed me the importance of breaking down projects into smaller components. So things like outlines and different forms of planners are very helpful